All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What BR. We have Chef Celeste again with us today, and we also have Angel Jackson with us from the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging. Chef Celeste, obviously, Chef Celeste Creations. How's everybody doing this morning?
Doing well, doing well.
Very
How about
well.
you?
Doing good. Doing pretty good. Hadn't gotten behind schedule yet, and that's the most important thing. It usually just progressively gets worse as the day goes on, as I gotta get pulled different directions. So Chef, this is your second time with us. We've had you on. We're doing some updates, kind of see what's going on.
Right.
As we dive into it, there's got to be, in the times that we're in these days, everything changes by the day, by the hour, by the minute. We hadn't talked to you in a week.
Mhm.
What's new? What's happening kind of in your world here?
Well, the new thing is I'm finding that the restaurant portion of it, so I'll take that question in stages. The restaurant portion of it, the walk-ins are a lot slower. And I'm finding that we have a lot of people that are cooking online. You see all the videos of people at home and they're doing their cooking. We also have people cooking at home that are selling food that need, they're doing this to pay their rent or their mortgages.
Oh.
So that's another thing that the restaurants are contending with. But what we've done to kind of offset that is, as we were speaking last week about the meal preps and picking up the food at the farmers market, that has gone extremely well. I do prepackaged food, and it's some of it like this here. This is a smaller single size, but I also do family sizes, and that one has taken off. So we do the pre-orders, and they come pick that up. I make extras for people like me that don't follow directions all the way, so they don't pre-order. We have food for them also. So that's one of the new things that we're doing, one of the changes this week. And I teamed up with another restaurant to cater some food for first responders yesterday. And that came from Better Together. But I believe that if I have enough, I can cover my bills. I'm going to bring somebody else in so that they can do the same thing. And, we can all keep our employees paid. So just share, the business that's coming in.
That's awesome. Before we get too far, and I don't have a note here, where you said people can pre-order?
They can pre-order at info@chefceleste.com, or they can text me. I'd rather not take phone calls because I forget. And even if I write it down somewhere, I'm not going to remember where I wrote it down. There's so many things going on. So info@chefceleste.com, or they can text me at 225-324.
Oh, no, sorry, go ahead.
225-324-5616. Text
And a name, some orders, and you kind of get a conversation going back and forth there.
Yes.
Awesome. No, I was just going to say, I'm in the same boat as you. I've got like my scrap paper with notes, and then I'll end up losing the scrap piece of paper.
Right.
So Angel, what's going on in your world over there? Same story, right? Things are changing.
Things are changing even since last week. So last Tuesday, we reopened our food pantry for our seniors.
Okay.
One day a week on Tuesday afternoons. Last Tuesday was our first time reopening, and we had over 1,500 seniors come through.
Wow.
Bags of groceries, fresh fruit, canned goods, dairy, bread, and household supplies. Also last week, we reopened 7 of our senior centers for hot meal servings once a day. So it's drive-through. So the seniors can drive through around lunchtime and literally pick up to-go plates from 7 of the senior centers throughout the parish. So that has been going on for the past week, and our seniors are excited to see our faces again. We're excited to check on them. Again, we're still implementing social distancing and trying to keep them safe. So they're not getting out their cars. They're merely rolling down their windows, replacing the food in, and waving them along. But that's changing our operations. Just those 2 different things last week has gotten them back out interacting with the agency again, and slowly bringing them back into the senior centers.
That's amazing. 1,500 people at a pantry. That's incredible. That's
Yes.
how do you get the word out to these seniors? We found, sometimes that's a, hard group to, market to because they're not always in the email and, online. How do you get that message out?
Well, we have a great program here that we use in the agency called One Call, and all of our seniors are segmented based on their services. So we send out text messages and voicemail calls to remind them and let them know, hey, we're reopening the food pantry on Tuesday between these hours at this location. Come out and get your groceries for the week. We also have several social media platforms, and we post flyers and updates on those as well. So we stay in constant contact with our seniors in a variety of different avenues to communicate with them.
That's awesome. I like those kind of pieces of technology and the fact that we're in this day and age. If this would have been 50 years ago, this would have been a completely different message, how to get it out there to people. So you mentioned, and I'm just assuming if you got 1,500 people showing up, that's on Tuesdays,
Yes.
This is Monday. So tomorrow, I can't imagine that lasts very long. You probably need to get there early.
You definitely need to get there early. The drive-through starts at 1:00 in the afternoon. Yeah, last week at 1, there was already a line through the parking lot and down the street. So seniors are definitely coming out. They're coming out early to get in line to get their produce, their supplies. So you want to get there early and make sure that you get what you need for the week.
That's awesome. Chef, I had a question. Somebody emailed me after our last, talk, was wanting to know more clarification on how you and the Council on Aging are working together. Kind of where's that tie, between you two? There was wanting to, I guess we didn't go into that much detail. Sometimes we assume that we all know these stories, but I had a couple people, email in.
Well, I am the Director of Dining Services. So I've been working with the Council on Aging for almost 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in and I was able to see the organization from the inside and all the good programs that they have going on. And it was just a good fit for me to align myself with the Council on Aging. And especially since I've been doing senior dining since I graduated college. So that was like a lot of years ago. And
no, like 5.
This just kind of rounds it all out. So yeah. But that's my sense of pride, knowing that a large majority of the seniors in East Baton Rouge Parish, I have a little part in their nutrition.
I was going to say, I've heard some rumor, and I'm going to kind of put you on a spot here, that you've been doing a lot of giving back, in the community here. And sometimes that's hard, to talk about, but I've got a little bit here. You've got to tell everybody, some of the stuff. Let you kind of, here's your soapbox, to stand on for a minute here. Tell me what's going on.
Okay, here's my soapbox that the Chef Celeste that people do not know a lot of. Since I've been here, I started with Girl Scouts, and I would go and teach classes there. That's moved forward to Big Buddy. So I'll go in and mentor and have teaching classes there. That's all for free. I am so sorry. Okay, sorry about that.
You're all right.
So I'll start that one from the top. So I started with Girl Scouts, giving back. And now I do Big Buddy. I go into the schools and I teach culinary in there for free. And I teach them Serpsing. I also give back to other culinarians, restaurateurs, people that are interested in being in the business. First off, I'm going to say I'm not rich, but I do help businesses start up at no cost. So, if I have a space and they want to come in, I'll vet them and then I'll let them come on in and start their business so they can see if this is something that they really want to do, or let them take off with that, and then they can move on to another location. And then any event, nonprofit that needs food for a cause, If I can't do it all myself, I'll pull a group of people together and we'll go do that. We'll do a repast. We'll do food for various occasions, all for a good cause. That's just my way of giving back. And there's a lot more in there, but you know.
What is a repass for the non-chefs?
Well, I didn't know what that was either until I moved
Okay.
here.
I
Funeral.
don't feel bad.
Like the Angel, come on, help me out now.
Okay, so a repast in the South is the dinner or reception following a funeral service. So after the funeral and you go to the burial, you get together back as a family or a community and you have a meal together. And it's basically an extension of the celebration of life for a deceased loved one.
Yeah. I didn't know they called that. I know I've been to it. You know, I've done it like every time. You know, someone, you know, we've had a loved one pass, you know, and then I didn't know there was an actual name for it though. So interesting. I called it the reception, but I guess that's more like a wedding reception, not a you know, repast. So tell me, out of all of that, the time that you have, you know, how you're planning, how you're putting all this together, you know, like we talked last week, just bouncing and moving from place to place to place, you know, going all over, running everything for the senior citizens over there at Southside. You know, Mark's not with us this week, but we'll talk with him. I know he's busy with some planning over there.
Yes.
What's the next step? Where do you see, you know, can you see a little bit, you know, what does the crystal ball show you? What's coming down the road a little bit?
That's the hard part for me, because with the restaurants, I'm kind of winding down for that. At least that was my plan for actual 2020, and we talked about that. So with the downtown location, I'm playing with the idea of doing more of bringing in, let's say, 6 chefs that want to, or that they don't have to be chefs, so people that want to get into the restaurant business, and give them 2 months each to come in, showcase what they do, see if this is really what they want to do. But I have to have their business affairs in order, you know, their insurance, all of that. But come and run the bistro with your restaurant, with your menu items, to see if this is really what you want to do, to help to spotlight more people that want to be in the industry. So that's an idea I'm playing with, as well as the teaching, and definitely keeping with the prepackaged meal. So I can see that one very long term.
That's interesting. It's almost, I don't want to use the word incubator, but it's like a real life, you know, try before you buy, you know, because it's expensive to get in the restaurant business. I've had many friends that have done it, and it is, I remember I had one friend, and that was naive. I remember him telling me, we first met, and I was like, oh, that's cool, you own such and such place. I was like, that's got to be great. You've got your daughter now. He had a young daughter. And I was like, that's got to be awesome. You get to spend all that time with her, and, you know, you're not too busy. And he's like, Brandon, are you kidding me? He goes, I've got to open it up and get deliveries first thing in the morning. We're there all the way till the end of the night. He goes, it's around the clock. He goes, this is the busiest you can ever be. And long story short, where I'm kind of driving this back to is, he ended up telling me, you know, that he ended up getting out of the business because it was just taking so much time out of his life, and that, you know, a lot of people don't know what they're signing up for when they get into it. He's like, I remember he told me, I love to cook. I don't love running a business, you know.
And see, that's where I am. Earlier in my career, I just love to open them, start them, sell them. You know, that's just the fun part for me. But it has to be in you. This is something you have to love, or you will not survive in it, because you can make all the money in the world, but it's time consuming. I mean, you have to eat, drink, sleep, restaurant, and food. So I love it.
So tell me, we're talking, you know, restaurants, you know, but the big thing right now, and even in my uneducated mind, you know, catering, you know, that's what restaurants are kind of, in my mind, like I said, doing catering right now, you know, to some degree is what I would call it. But, you know, is there room, you know, for anybody who's wanting to do catering, you know, you know, if you're that new, you know, if you're that chef, if you're that guy sitting at home, you know, who's had, you know, I'm picturing, you know, maybe the blessing out of this somewhere is we've got some awesome chef who, you know, was working at some job, not cooking. He's been sitting at home for a month, just cooking, for everybody around him, and everybody saying, you need to go do this. You need to go start. You need to do. Can he now? Can she? Is there room in this?
There is plenty of room. And I have to tell you, I had I'm going to say a young chef kind of lash out at me earlier in the week because I did not get back to him to give him his serve safe training. And mind you, we're in a pandemic, and this is when it first started, and I'm going 24/7 trying to get everybody, Southside Gardens, Council on Aging, restaurants, everybody regroup. So I literally forgot. But instead of reaching out, he kind of lashed out and, and thinking that I didn't want him to get ahead or, trying to hoard the business. You can't hoard the business. There are so many people here in Baton Rouge, and we all don't know the same clientele. So even if we have, let's say we have 3,000 or 4,000 caterers here in Baton Rouge, there's still more people. We can't do them all even in 7 days. So there's plenty of room. You're going to find your niche. Just know when you come out into the business, you can't please everyone. You're not going to be able to do multiple jobs in one day. You can do a few, but you can't go from morning to night, 10, 12 different jobs in one day. So there's plenty of room. So I always say when people look at me and they're like, Chef, you're out here, you're doing this, you're in the spotlight, and you're doing all the other things. I say, yeah, but it needs to be more. Why is it just me? So
that's I was talking with some guys. We have a little business project that we're working on, and that we're kind of bringing into the fold. And I literally was telling them last week, I was, that we're trying to figure out how this was all going to work with the moving parts. Where I was like, guys, look, there's a big enough pie out there for us. I just want to make sure I've got a slice of pie. I don't care how big, I don't care how small. I just need a slice of it, and we'll figure it out later. There's enough, business to go around for everybody out there. And I think sometimes people get in their own way. When you start worrying about what the guy next to you is doing, when you're worried about, how are you going to be, number one, it clouds the judgment. You're sitting there worrying about what's going on over here when it's like, hey, you got a business to run. You've got, do this. Don't worry about that.
That is exactly right. Yeah. Starting out, I very seldom would even follow another chef or look and see what they're doing, especially in the Baton Rouge area. Because if you see the work that they're doing, and there's a lot of great work out there, it may cross over into your style of cooking. And I always like for my work to be authentic. So, I don't go and check out my neighbors, even though even in the market, we have 7 different vendors in there. I don't want to see what you're doing. I don't want to see what you're doing. I want to do what Chef Celeste does. So that's just my take.
I think Simon Sinek online, if you've ever watched some of his stuff, he's a great speaker. He's online. He talks about a game theory, and it's a finite game or an infinite game. And he talks about businesses where, and it's interesting, people can go online and look, but the short version is he talks about when businesses say, we're number one in such and such. Well, by whose rules? Is it because you made the most money, or you have the most customers, or you've been around longer than anybody? There's no agreed upon set of rules like in, a football game. You can say we won. Well, we all agreed to the rules. We set up the objective. We agreed on a time. But in business, too many times, people run around, we're number one. Well, great. You're number one I didn't agree to that. So I think I'm number one. So it's all objective. So if you just head down, as I say, find something you love to do and show up,
exactly.
You'll generally, do well.
Yeah.
So to kind of derail us, I can't come up with a good enough segue, but I did hear some really awesome things. Anja, you guys got a donation by the Haynes Company. Or the state did. This was pretty big. This was, a need that was needed, and you guys were able to help facilitate this, right?
So Haynes Company made a donation to the state through the governor's office of cloth face masks, and through the governor's office and our mayor, President Sharon Weston Broome, she donated the face masks to several state agencies. Who give back to the community, especially the most vulnerable segments of the community. So we received a large donation of cloth reusable face masks that we are going to start giving away to our seniors for free today.
Wow.
So you can literally drive up to one of those 7 sites that are open today, passing out lunches, and also pick up a couple of masks. And you don't have to be one of our registered seniors to get a mask. You just need to be 60 years or older and come through and say you're looking for one of the free donated masks. And we'll be there to give that to you. And
Like to throw it through the window.
yeah, just crack your window just a little bit and we're gonna throw that into.
We're gonna stick it in like the night deposit, we'll slide it into you.
Exactly, minimal contact. But we are so excited to receive that donation because we get inundated with calls of seniors who are looking for supplies. And it's great to give them their food and give them their nutrition, but they need other tools to combat this virus and to handle this pandemic, like the household cleaning supplies and the mask. So this is something that we're excited to be able to give back to the seniors of our community because we know it's in heavy demand, and they're in short supply. So, we're excited to be able to hand that to them today.
That's awesome. And one of the things you kind of just folded in there, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you guys are doing not just, the food, but it's the toiletries, the cleaning supplies, the Lysol.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in your wheelhouse before, was it? Or you guys had to pivot a little bit and do this, more now?
Exactly. Our mission is to support independence and serve our seniors, however that may end up being. And as the pandemic unfolded, we had to be able to shift our operations in order to continue implementing our mission, but giving the seniors what they needed at that time to be successful and take care of themselves during the pandemic.
That's all, and that can't be easy. It's hard enough for me to go out and get a can of Lysol, and you guys are just finding it, packaging, turn around, to get rid of it, get it out there. I think
exactly.
that's impressive. Like you said, 1,500 people showing up. You've got these 7 locations. Before, again, almost kind of where we talked with Chef, if you're a senior, how do they get on your list? How do they register with you? What's the phone number? What's the website? Like, there's a senior out there watching this going, great, sounds good, sign me up. Where do I go? What's how do we get them this information where they feel like we didn't just tease them with this information?
The easiest way to sign up to become a member of the Council on Aging is to go to our website, ebrcoa.org, and complete a service application. And that service application will take down all of your pertinent contact information, but also allow you to pinpoint what your needs are so that one of our care managers can reach out to you directly to do a quick intake process and qualify you for each of the services that you're interested in. They can also reach out and give us a call at our main office, 225-923-8000. They want to speak to someone directly to get immediate information. And we also have an email inbox that is actually manned by a live person on a daily basis, info@ebrcoa.org. And we're also available to respond to their emails and help direct them through the service application online.
So every channel, you're there. You got somebody waiting on the other end of it.
Exactly.
So to kind of swing this pendulum from one end, to the other, and once again, Chef's right in the middle of it. From seniors, and taking care of them and the nutrition that comes with them, Chef, you've got a passion for child nutrition. Yes. At the same time. There's a story back here, I feel. There's something, I feel there's a nugget of information that we need to dig out, here. What's the history here?
Well, the history is I always loved cooking as a kid. So I was in the kitchen with my mom, my grandmother, all of that. And some of the memories that come back when my mom would come home from work, the first thing I would do was smell her hands. Like, oh, let me smell your hands, because they smell like onions and bell peppers. So, because she worked in a restaurant also. And that's just a smell, if you cook, it takes lemon juice or something like that to get it off. So that was, I've always loved to cook. And I find that children have that curiosity. I was one when we would go to the grocery store, I want to try something new. If it's something that we didn't have at home, can we buy this? Can I take it home and try it? And to get the proper nutrition into a lot of households, I believe you really have to go through the child. So we go into the schools over to Ryan Elementary with the farmers market, and there's a cooking class there. And the kids have gardens, and if you get them to try the vegetables and the strawberries that they grow, everything in a different way, I'll have them eat it raw. Then I'll cook some for them and let them try it. And I like them to try things without a lot of oil in there, without a lot of salt in there, and without just smothering everything down and taking all the nutrients out. And you find that majority of the kids like it. You always have that one or two that they're not going to try anything you do yet until they see all their friends eat it, and then they want to try it. But that's one of my passions, is to get the food out to the kids, nutritious food, and then in the hopes that they will bring mom and dad to the farmer's market or even to the grocery store and try and entice them to cook healthier at home.
That's awesome. I think, too many people don't realize the difference in like a fresh, food, like a vegetable, like pull it out of the ground, get it out of the garden, take a bite. It's for my South Louisiana, analogy, like you've never had an oyster till you had one that came off the boat and you were still on the dock. That's a whole nother, class of food. But I think, to tie into that, I think it comes to, you mentioned the cooking classes. I remember as a kid, going through and learning, some of the basics of cooking. And I learned, true story, this weekend that I failed is, the parenting fail. My daughter got up, who's 12, and decided she was going to make some muffins, for her 7-year-old brothers. And so I just was like, okay, and we could smell it. I'm like, that doesn't smell, and she pulled it out of the oven and just a complete fail. Nothing, rose. I'm like, what did you do? She's like, well, we didn't have regular flour, so I just used almond flour. And we didn't really have any sugar, so I used salt, and it was like, no, it was horrible. It was just, this epic fail, nothing rose. And then they were like, well, maybe it just will taste good because it didn't look right. No, didn't even, and then they had to sit there, all of them just scrubbing the pan, trying to get, these muffins out. And when you were talking about it, it kind of brought back memory. It's like, that is something, and it's a life skill. There's certain things in life that you got to learn to do. I believe everybody should be able to change a tire, on a car. Everybody needs to be able to understand some basic cooking. If you don't have this, you can substitute this. If you don't, this measurement, this is, how many quarts equal the gallon and how many pints equal. I think that's something that it's one of those things that we're skipping past because it's so easy to open an app and say, bring me something.
Well, that's true. But even in the restaurant business, what you just said, as far as if you don't have one item, substitute another item, a lot of people, that's not common knowledge. But to me, it's like, okay, it's common sense. But I love to cook. So I'm just not in it for the money. I'm not in it for fame. I'm just in it because I love to cook. And when you take a bite of something, I just want to look at you. And most of the time when you bite something, either eyebrows going to go up or you're going to slip out of, and it's like, you don't need to say anything else. You told me everything I need to know right there. So, but kids can cook. We had a program with Big Buddy where we brought the kids in for the summer and they literally cooked the items that are on my Saturday menu, from shrimp Benedicts. We had regular Benedicts. They make the hollandaise sauce, everything from scratch. So if you were to walk in, instead of you placing your order for the chef to cook it, this child back here would cook it. And I expected it to look the same way as if you were to go to another Broken Egg or you come to my bistro on a normal Saturday and you didn't know who cooked it. That's the way I expect my food to look. And you know what? They did it.
That's interesting. Yeah, because you kind of drew a little thread in my mind. It's cooking's a skill that if you learn it, it doesn't matter, your age. It's
Right.
going to transcend, from you learn it as a child all the way to, a senior that maybe they're grabbing some ingredients from, Angela's pantry. But
Mhm.
back to my, daughter, the 12-year-old, if she's given the skill, there's nothing,
Yeah.
it's not anything physical. It's if I go get in, the airplane and fly an airplane and then tell somebody else to jump in, well, they don't know how to do it. So they
Right.
can't do it. They're going to have to go learn that. If you can, but there's certain, requirements to that. There's no requirement to cooking. There's no age, there's no certification that you have to get. There's nothing there. If you can say, here's the ingredients, do this with them, they can learn to do it just as well as you can. And then they can,
Exactly.
to pull our, lesson out of the Bible, you can, instead of giving the man a fish, you can teach him to fish,
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So I think we've made a full circle all the way around from, what is the business moving? Angela, are we missing anything on your side? Is there anything, you got any more surprises for us? We're giving out, masks today. We're tossing them in. We've got the pantry opening up tomorrow at 1. Get there early.
Get there early, 1 to 4 on Tuesdays. And then if you're a congregate senior to get a hot meal, we're giving away those hot meals daily from 11 to 2 at the 7 open senior centers that we have in the parish.
That's amazing. Chef, what are we missing? We've covered a lot of ground again today. I'm excited. It's fun to talk with you every week and kind of see what's going on. Are we missing anything?
I don't think we're missing anything. The only thing I will remind them to do is check the website, or not the website, the Facebook page, Chef Celeste Bistro. I'm going to put the menu out, what we're doing for the Saturday pickup. I know one of the items is the crawfish lasagna. I already have someone requested that. And so I'm like, okay, we'll make that one again. So yeah, just check back in with me at least by Wednesday to see what we're making.
And pre-order.
Pre-order is awesome. It ensures that you get your food. I'd hate for you to get to the end of the line and you come out late and then we're sold out, because we did sell out this week.
Wow, that's good. It's always better to sell out, than
Yes.
to have, leftover. And so, well, look, I'm going to give everybody some time back in your day. I appreciate you showing up, here for us, running through, giving us some updates. We're going to do it again. Everybody have a good week. We're going to stay on time. I'm going to do my best to stay on time today. So I know, Chef, you're running in circles.
Yes.
So, all right, you guys have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.